Here is Immortal Moments for explanation. Friends, like videos and subscribes to our channel. Swallowed Star 2 Land of Origin Part 1 Explanation. So let's start our explanation. In the gloomy and profound Samsara channel, we're finally seeing the end. Luo Feng spoke from inside the Star Tower, gazing at the light at the end of the Samsara channel. With his strength as an eternal true God, he could already see that vibrant, vast world teeming with life. Master, we've finally reached the land of origin, the sector beast Morosa said excitedly. We're finally here, Luo Feng revealed a smile as well. In the region of the primordial cosmos, the two of them had long since become utterly invincible, alone and lonely for too long. Luo Feng looked toward Morosa and said solemnly, after entering the land of origin, you must not reveal any information about sector beasts. There are countless beings stronger than us in the land of origin. Once we're exposed, there will be no escape. Master, rest assured, even if I die, I won't reveal any information about sector beasts. Morosa stated. Luo Feng nodded. Both of us have perfect divine bodies. Even if we die, a single drop of blood can bring us back to life. But if we expose information about sector beasts and get targeted by some terrifying beings from the land of origin, they will seek out every drop of our blood and completely annihilate us. Morosa nodded. One of the three great legacies of the Duandong River lineage, the Undying River, if cultivated, can bring one back to life using just a drop of blood. Both Luo Feng and the sector beast Morosa had perfect divine bodies, with a life level 100,000 times that of normal beings. Their lives held many unthinkable characteristics. They could isolate life signs, rendering life lock ineffective, obscure fate, and even transform into a myriad of forms flawlessly. Without the need to cultivate the Undying River, every strand of their hair, every drop of their blood, could be used to be reborn. The waters of the land of origin run deep and unfathomable, Luo Feng said gravely. Over endless years, the only sector beast that has survived is the one in Qianmu Kingdom. All the rest have perished. Luo Feng looked forward to the land of origin but was well aware that it was extremely dangerous. His master, mountain-sitting guest, and the ancestor from the third generation of the Duandong River lineage were both at the godly king level, but the third-generation ancestor had completely died. His master, mountain-sitting guest, had also been hunted and forced to flee into the universe ocean. All the other sector beasts are dead. Morosa was astonished. But they all have perfect divine bodies, with extremely strong survival capabilities. Being a sector beast himself, he was very clear about the multitude of ways they had to preserve their lives. They are all dead, Luo Feng nodded. Without the highest rules restrictions, he had already received a massive influx of legacy information from the Duandong River lineage and the world of Jin while in the Samsara channel, which also included some secretive information about the land of origin. Mountain-sitting guest was afraid that Luo Feng would die before growing up, so he had already told him all of the taboos. The Duandong River lineage, which was passed down to only one successor at a time, had also made him aware of the various dangers of the land of origin. Sector beasts, born with the path of destruction, become a catastrophe as they grow. Any power in the land of origin would seek to eliminate them immediately upon discovery, Luo Feng continued. The sector beast in Qianmu Kingdom survived one part because it had reached the pinnacle of growth and was difficult to deal with when it was exposed. On the other hand, it was under someone's control and did not wantonly destroy, which is why the various forces of the land of origin tolerated its existence. I also have a master, Morosa quickly interjected. Luo Feng smiled. Having a master, you still need to be powerful enough. Otherwise, those ancient beings won't mind crushing you with a flick of their fingers. Whether it's you or me, we're still very weak now, Luo Feng looked into the distance. We're only eternal true gods. We must hold a reverent heart. Yes, Morosa immediately responded. Under the soul enslavement, Morosa would rather die than disobey Luo Feng's orders. As sector beasts, destruction and devouring were their favorite activities and also the fastest way for them to grow. But in the primordial cosmos region, after the calamity caused by sector beasts, Morosa stopped devouring any small universe under Luo Feng's command and relied solely on slowly absorbing the primal chaos current for growth. It took eons to reach the level of an eternal true god. Even as Luo Feng could already see the end of the Samsara channel, the star tower still flew for quite some time before actually arriving. Whoosh! The star tower flew out of the Samsara channel and came upon a dark, boundless land, with a vast aura spreading and condensing into a thin mist, making the land and sky indistinct and hard to discern. The Samsara channel they emerged from had already disappeared, and Luo Feng immediately stowed away the star tower, appearing on the vast land together with Morosa. At this moment, Luo Feng's hair had grown much longer, a pair of dark golden horns had sprouted on his forehead, and his facial features had also changed somewhat. Morosa still wore a simple and honest guard's appearance with silver-grey skin, slightly ugly but very honest. Although the small universe of Purple Moon Ancestor was destroyed back then, he still lives. He is well aware that my small universe had a diameter of 1 billion light-years when I first became a true god, Luo Feng said to himself. Having such a vast small universe right upon becoming a true god is an astonishing affair. It could easily draw the attention of powerful entities. Purple Moon Ancestor, fortunately, is just a true god of void space and has little influence. He likely can't contact any powerful beings. But I'll still be cautious. Luo Feng was well aware that a moment of carelessness could lead to eternal regret. No opportunities for enemies. With his perfect divine body, changing his aura and appearance, even Purple Moon Ancestor himself wouldn't recognize him if he came in person, let alone other powerhouses of the land of origin who had never seen him before. Master, look! Morosa exclaimed, looking up at the night sky in shock. Luo Feng also looked toward the night sky. The night sky of the land of origin was vast and profound, with stars gleaming brightly. In the night sky, countless stars were extremely far from the land, varying in size. Among them, some extremely large stars, even with untold spaces separating them, still sent a fearful pulse to Luo Feng's heart. The beings born in the land of origin generally make it to true god. Luo Feng looked up and said, their small universes are in the depths of the starry night sky. Each star represents a small universe. True gods of void space, eternal true gods, primal chaos overlords, godly kings. Their mini-universes are all in the starry sky, hence the dazzling array of stars. Luo Feng pointed at some terrifying stars in the night sky. The stars that emanate the most terrifying aura are the mini-universes of the godly kings. Countless mini-universes in the night sky? Morosa looked envious, thinking that if he could devour them to his heart's content, his growth rate would increase by a lot. Luo Feng glanced at him. Morosa immediately flashed an innocent smile. By looking at these countless mini-universes, one can understand just how profound the land of origin is. We are merely two small fish. Luo Feng observed the star-filled night sky. If one day a massive star falls, it also signifies the death of a powerhouse. Morosa nodded in understanding. By observing the stars at night, one can tell which powerhouses are alive and which are dead. But you don't know which stars correspond to whom, said Luo Feng, withdrawing his gaze from the stars in the night sky to focus on sensing the spatial, temporal, and various laws fluctuations of the land of origin. The stability of space is terrifying. Luo Feng stretched out his right hand. A dark vortex emerged in his palm, tearing and wreaking havoc, causing slight ripples in the space. Space is like a boundless ocean. My power can only cause a few ripples. Luo Feng felt the flow of time, comparing it with his divine power incarnation far away in his homeland, which also sensed the passage of time. Time flows very slowly here. 1 second in this place equals 10,081 seconds in the primordial cosmos. Luo Feng looked around, the land vast and desolate, but he could perceive the fluctuations of laws between heaven and earth. The law of primal chaos can be sensed very clearly. Luo Feng's eyes shone with excitement. It's too vivid. When he was in his homeland, it was like sensing laws through layers of fog, making the perception very vague. In the land of origin, the layers of fog had dissipated, akin to watching from an ultra-close distance. This made understanding laws much easier. It was also easier for the land of origin to produce strong beings. If I had come to the land of origin when I was at the true god level, I would have become an eternal true god much more quickly, thought Luo Feng. Below true god, it is suitable to cultivate in the region of the primordial cosmos. Above true god, the land of origin is more fitting. Even with Luo Feng's talents, he had cultivated continuously in his homeland until the primordial cosmos was on the verge of destruction, observing the sector beast and the path of destruction, the primordial cosmos's destruction and rebirth, before he finally comprehended the source of life and death and stepped into the realm of the eternal true God. Of course, Luo Feng took so long partly because sensing laws in the primordial cosmos region was too vague and the efficiency of cultivation was too low. Another reason was, comprehending the source of law is extremely difficult. Like the primordial ancestor, and others who cultivated for lengthy epochs like the East Emperor ancestor and Purple Moon ancestor, they are also just true gods of void space. Master, where shall we head next? Morosa looked around. Besides, I've carefully sensed the surroundings and haven't detected the primordial ancestor. After fighting through the Samsara Channel to reach the land of origin, one could appear anywhere on the continent, said Luo Feng. Luo Feng then carefully observed the surroundings, his gaze penetrating through layers of spatial obstruction to see very far away. On this vast land, there were giant worm-like exotic beasts lurking deep beneath the ground, divine birds flying high in the night sky, and a true god team cautiously exploring and advancing. There was also a flying boat, its aura concealed, hurriedly escaping. Luo Feng observed, within my observation range, I've detected about 1,000 exotic beasts, a small team of 12 true gods, and a lone true god of void space. It's him, a local cultivator from the land of origin who I've come into contact with. Luo Feng looked distantly at that flying boat. This flying boat was hiding its presence, silently flying through the air. There stood a tall man with a sharp tail inside the flying boat, wearing dark green armor and observing the outside world with eyes emitting a faint glow. I nearly lost my life this time. Mo Yu, piloting the flying boat and concealing its aura, couldn't help but feel excited, though his forehead displayed excitement that the intelligence was correct, and eventually, I managed to find the treasure. I, Mo Yu, have finally made a great fortune. With this treasure, my 3 children can receive excellent cultivation. Perhaps there is a chance to have the most talented eldest child apprenticed to an eternal true god. Mo Yu yearned. In the land of origin, with its abundance of strong beings and strict hierarchy, the mentor-disciple relationship even surpasses kinship. Because giving birth might be the result of a moment's passion. However, in the land of origin, if a master accepts a disciple, he generally wants to cultivate the disciple, even supplying resources and arranging the future. The importance of a master to a disciple is self-evident. Even if they cannot apprentice under an eternal true god, at least all 3 children can learn a powerful legacy, Mo Yu thought to himself. His wife had died long ago, and the 3 children she left behind are what he cares about most in this world. The myriad clans cultivators converge in the land of origin. Even though many cultivators do not care about the life and death of their offspring, Mo Yu deeply cares. As a true god of void space, he has infinite lifespan, and other than his own growth in cultivation, the only thing he cares about are his 3 children. Soon, it will take just 10 days to return to Huyang City, Mo Yu thought, cautiously piloting the flying boat, avoiding some dangerous areas. Suddenly, Mo Yu felt an irresistible force enveloping him. The flying boat seemed like a leaf boat caught in a maelstrom, plummeting into it, becoming ever smaller, continuously shrinking. This is bad. A chill ran down Mo Yu's spine as the flying boat he piloted couldn't escape the terrifying spatial vortex, but could only continue to sink within it. In the end, the flying boat fell into the deepest part of the spatial vortex, located in a gigantic palm whose lines resembled rivers and ravines. Luo Feng stood in place without moving, simply controlling the void to shrink the space where the distant flying boat was, and gently caught it in his palm. Beside him, Morosa curiously watched. Master, why capture this flying boat? Let's ask for directions first. Luo Feng observed the creature in the flying boat in his hand. The fearful Mo Yu within the flying boat dared not hesitate and immediately flew out, and as soon as it landed, it knelt down and said with utmost respect, Mo Yu pays respects to the Supreme. Mo Yu's heart was filled with fear and unease. After overcoming countless hardships, it had only just obtained a treasure. It feared that this terrifying being might kill it to snatch the treasure. It did not want to die. If it died, its 3 children would struggle greatly to survive in Huyang City. I ask you, which primal chaos prefecture is this? Luo Feng asked. Upon hearing this, Mo Yu-hu was stunned. Was he asking for directions? To report to the Supreme, Mo Yu-hu quickly replied respectfully, "This is the Jiu Jiang Primal Chaos Prefecture of Yu Kingdom." Yu Kingdom? Luo Feng nodded slightly. In the land of origin, there were many forces, a city, a tribe, or a secretive sect could all be a power on its own. But to qualify for constructing a divine kingdom, at least a godly king-level existence was required. The Jin state once established by his master, mountain-sitting guest, had only one godly king. Yu Kingdom and Shi Kingdom were much stronger. The Shi Kingdom had 3 godly kings initially. Yu Kingdom even had 5 godly kings. Shi Kingdom and Yu Kingdom are adjacent. Fortunately, after braving the cycle of rebirth, I arrived in Yu Kingdom, thought Luo Feng. If I had arrived in Shi Kingdom, that would have been somewhat troublesome. He had obtained the 9-volume manual and the Star Tower because of his master, mountain-sitting guest. He also received the inheritance of the lineage from the world of Jin, and even more, he acquired the Lai Yuan technique. The favor of his master was too great. If he became a godly king in the future, he must stand by his master's side. When weak, he naturally had to keep some distance from the 3 rulers of Shi Kingdom. I remember, there should be 3 major cities in Jiu Jiang Primal Chaos Prefecture, right? Luo Feng asked. Yes, Mo Yu-hu immediately replied. Jiu Jiang Primal Chaos Prefecture is vast and boundless, with 3 large cities and 189 ordinary cities. The 3 large cities are Jiu Jiang City, Huyang City, and Shirin City. Luo Feng nodded. Jiu Jiang Primal Chaos Prefecture, that's the fief of the Primal Chaos Overlord Marquis of Jiu Jiang, right? In Land of Origin, eternal true gods could at most be granted a surname, usually serving as a general leading a region or as a core member administering a city, forming the elite of a divine kingdom. A Primal Chaos Overlord, however, would be ennobled. Their status was much higher. They would even be granted an entire Primal Chaos Prefecture as a fief. If they got on bad terms, a Primal Chaos Overlord could just brush off their butts and defect to another realm. Marquis of Jiu Jiang resides in Jiu Jiang City, Mo Yu-hu replied immediately. That's why, among the 3 large cities, Jiu Jiang City has the strictest rules. Shirin City, due to the mines and some forces, often has conflicts and the most wars. Huyang City, being close to the border of Yu Kingdom, has various countries setting up branches there. It's the most prosperous in trade. I also live in Huyang City. Luo Feng nodded slightly. I need to cultivate and also need a stable environment with suitable resources, Luo Feng thought. There is no need for me to train under the watchful eyes of a primal chaos overlord in Jiu Jiang City. There are too many conflicts in Shirin City. Huyang City is prosperous in trade and information, conducive for purchasing resources, and is suitable for me to stay temporarily. Luo Feng quickly made a decision. As his strength was weak, he needs to be extra cautious. Luo Feng looked at the respectful Mo Yu-hu and ordered, I want to go to Huyang City, you help guide the way. Yes, a relieved and somewhat excited Mo Yu-hu replied. Guide the way? Then he wouldn't kill him. Huyang City is in that direction, Mo Yu-hu immediately pointed the way out. Let's go, with a thought, Luo Feng, along with Morosa and Mo Yu-hu, began to traverse space at high speed. Mo Yu-hu only felt an invisible force wrapping around him, the surrounding space twisted, their 3 figures crossed vast spans of space in an instant, they were more than 100 times faster than when he used the flying boat. Supreme, we should still be careful on the way, as there are many dangerous places we may encounter, Mo Yu-hu hastily said. Are there primal chaos-level exotic beasts dwelling along the path? Luo Feng asked calmly. Of course not. There is only one primal chaos-level exotic beast, Chao Yong, in the entire Jiu Jiang Primal Chaos Prefecture, which lives deep in Chao Yong Lake. There are no primal chaos-level exotic beasts in other areas, Mo Yu-hu said. Luo Feng nodded, then there's not much to worry about. Luo Feng, with Morosa and Mo Yu-hu, continued high-speed space travel in a straight line towards Huyang City. Not worried about primal chaos-level exotic beasts. Mo Yu-hu heard this with a trembling heart. Supreme, if we do not deviate from the path, we might pass by the lairs of eternal true god-level exotic beasts, Mo Yu-hu couldn't help but say. Luo Feng just looked at him, saying nothing more. Eternal true god-level exotic beasts. Having come to the land of origin with nothing to his name, he was actually waiting for eternal true god-level exotic beasts to attack him, so he could slaughter one or two. The scales, bones, blood, and essence of these beasts could be sold for money or exchanged for the resources he wanted. I do have a few extremely precious items on me: the Godly King level weapon, Star Tower, the Godly King level blade embryo, Blood Shadow knife, and the Eternal True God level mechanical flow treasure, Wu Yui wings, but I obviously cannot sell them. Luo Feng thought, I am indeed quite poor right now. Wu Yui wings, as a mechanical flow treasure, offered the most assistance to Luo Feng at this stage. The other two were of limited help for now, but as Luo Feng became stronger, the importance of Star Tower and Blood Shadow knife would become more prominent. The exotic beasts on land of origin are deliberately left unchecked by the God Kings, Luo Feng thought, allowing them to multiply and occupy most of the territory in land of origin. Myriad clans cultivators slaughter exotic beasts, gathering their body materials as cultivation resources. Godly King level exotic beasts are generally kept in captivity, they hardly ever appear in the outside world. Should one appear, the group of Godly Kings would quickly capture it and take it away. Luo Feng was well aware of this. Exotic beasts pose a significant threat to weaker true gods. But for truly powerful beings, they are merely living cultivation resources. Exotic beasts have low intelligence, yet the top among them possess the strength of a Godly King level just through their heritage. Luo Feng was also somewhat astonished. Why is their lineage so powerful? According to the intelligence he understood, every Godly King level exotic beast was a treasure of heaven and earth, reared by truly powerful forces. The essence of those Godly King level exotic beasts' lineage was a treasure unattainable even by the third-generation Grandmasters and his mentor, mountain-sitting guest. For the weak, the exotic beasts scattered throughout the land of origin pose a threat, thought Luo Feng, but once one's strength reaches a certain level, these beasts become mere prey. These exotic beasts have lower intelligence, and the real threats in the land of origin to me are those cultivators of the myriad clans. Luo Feng was well aware of this point. The geniuses who roamed through samsara from generation to generation in the 3,000 primordial cosmoses. The massive number of creatures native to the land of origin plus a large number of creatures from smaller cosmoses, among the vast number of creatures, naturally, many elites also emerged. After enduring endlessly long years, amongst the cultivators of the myriad clans, hidden dragons and crouching tigers abounded. Like the Duan Dong River, such factions are among the weaker in the entire land of origin. His mentor, mountain-sitting guest, also belonged to the weaker ranks among the Godly Kings. Even the Qianmu Kingdom, which controls a pinnacle sector beast, still doesn't rank as the most terrifying force in the land of origin. To me right now, what is needed is to lie low carefully, making myself increasingly powerful. Only then will I be eligible to uncover more secrets of the land of origin. Luo Feng was very clear about this, and even the vengeance of his mentor, mountain-sitting guest, can now be set aside. Without being a Godly King, one simply isn't qualified to get involved. Asterisk 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 asterisk. There are myriad smaller universes surrounding the primordial cosmos, the largest of which is indisputably Luo Feng's own smaller cosmos, spanning 100 billion light-years in diameter. Luo Feng's smaller cosmos was absorbing the primal chaos current at its maximum efficiency, transforming it into divine power to nourish Luo Feng's true god's heart, allowing Luo Feng's godly body to grow. Luo Feng had been an eternal true god for far too short a time, and his godly physique hadn't yet reached its ultimate state. Inside Luo Feng's smaller universe, under a large tree, Luo Feng and primordial ancestor sat opposite each other, drinking fruit wine. Both of them were just divine power incarnations. Only when you told me did I learn that the other end of the samsara channel turned out to be the land of origin, primordial ancestor remarked. They had both traversed samsara, and thus discussing the land of origin was no longer restricted by the supreme rules. Primordial ancestor, do you know which kingdom you are in now in the land of origin? Luo Feng asked. Primordial ancestor replied, after I arrived in the land of origin, I encountered a tribe which has tens of thousands of creatures. Almost all adults in this tribe are true gods, with only one true god of void space. They were very friendly to me. I found out that the place I was in is within the territory of the Flame Wind Ancient Country. Flame Wind Ancient Country? Luo Feng was slightly taken aback. How is the Flame Wind Ancient Country? Asked Primordial Ancestor. In the land of origin, any place named a country has been established by a godly king, explained Luo Feng. Among them, only two are called ancient countries. One is the Flame Wind Ancient Country, and the other is the Thunder Ancient Country. These two ancient countries have the most long-standing history and the deepest heritage. They are recognized as the strongest two kingdoms. No one, not even his mental mountain-sitting guest, knows when these two great kingdoms were established, with no records available, many mysteries unknown. Apart from the manifold divine kingdoms visible on the surface, including a few secret forces, some secretive existences mentioned in the intelligence left behind by the mental mountain-sitting guest and the Duandong River, such as an entity named Yuan who had completely escaped the braided cage. The Lai Yuan technique is indeed derived from Yuan. Because of escaping the braided cage, Yuan is also greatly revered by those ancient beings. His mental mountain-sitting guest suspects that among the two ancient countries, there might also be beings who have escaped the braided cage. Besides the visible divine kingdoms, there are also some very powerful forces in the shadows, Luo Feng said. In any case, in the land of origin, one must be cautious. I know, Luo Feng. Where are you now? Asked the primordial ancestor. I am in Yu Kingdom, a second-tier nation, Luo Feng said. We are too far apart, and it's not feasible to meet up for now. Moreover, without having reached the primal chaos dominator level, it's not suitable to travel across half the land of origin to meet up. Traversing half the land of origin, for an eternal true god, was akin to surviving 9 deaths and enduring a single life. The primordial ancestor nodded. Primordial ancestor, have you obtained an inheritance that leads to becoming an eternal true god? Luo Feng asked. No, the primordial ancestor shook his head and sighed. After enduring hardships to reach the land of origin, I know nothing about this place, and I have no inheritance either. Everything must be accumulated slowly. Luo Feng nodded. It indeed wasn't easy for the strong beings who broke through samsara to arrive at the land of origin. Most had no information or inheritance. He was somewhat more fortunate himself, after surviving 9 deaths, passing the trials of the Duandong River lineage, and the test of his master, the mountain-sitting guest. He was able to acquire the inheritances of 2 major factions. I have an inheritance here. Luo Feng took out a memory stone he had prepared beforehand. The core inheritance of the Duandong River lineage was forbidden to be passed on. Non-core inheritances were relatively common and not quite suitable for the primordial ancestor. The inheritances from the world of Jin lineage, where the most core 9 were forbidden to be passed on, the rest had no restrictions. But to transfer it to the primordial ancestor, Luo Feng himself had to learn it first to infuse it into the memory stone. This inheritance is called the 9 Netherworlds. Luo Feng handed over the memory stone to the primordial ancestor, but I've only realized the first half, and the memory stone also contains only the first half, which can be cultivated to the level of an eternal true god at highest. An inheritance leading to eternal true god. The primordial ancestor's eyes lit up. Thank you. The primordial ancestor, quite excited, took the memory stone and immediately began receiving the information. Moments later, he opened his eyes and nodded, saying, Luo Feng, this 9 Netherworlds is very suitable for me. If it suits you, that's great, Luo Feng smiled. During the over a month in the Samsara channel, Luo Feng reviewed many inheritances from 2 lineages. He felt that 9 Netherworlds was the most suitable for the primordial ancestor, so he took the effort to understand the relatively easier first half. Luo Feng, I won't say too many thanks. The primordial ancestor was quite moved internally. This inheritance was too precious for him. Having cultivated for nearly a reincarnation era, the primordial ancestor understood all too well how difficult it was to ascend from a true god of void space to an eternal true god. Even the creatures of the land of origin, who could rely on bloodline cultivation or resources such as exotic beast materials for cultivation, the ones who could become eternal true gods were 1 in a billion. What I can do is just so much. In the Flame Wind Ancient Country, everything depends on you. Luo Feng looked at the primordial ancestor too, the human race from the hometown reaching the land of origin. Only the 2 of them were there. You must be careful in Yu Kingdom too, the primordial ancestor said as well. The two exchanged smiles. At this moment, their true bodies were separated by half the land of origin, unable to meet up, and could only struggle on their own. This episode ends here.